Hello once again, and it's your beautiful host, Joseph Knoop, here on Byte, bsu.blogspot.com. And today we are doing a spoiler talk with one of my favorite people in the world, news co-editor Jacob Doolin. How you doing, Jake?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm slightly wet. We're here at the beautiful WCRD studios using them fine tools that they are giving us. But anyway, yeah. Walking Dead Season 2, Episode 3 from Telltale Games came out, I believe, on the 12th. Or on the 13th,
Yep.
on the 13th, excuse me.
It
So,
came out today for PS3, so that's how I finally got a chance to play it.
yeah, and as those of you who have played it know, there a lot of crap happened, right, Jake?
hmm
Yep. I think that this episode really I'll admit I was worried at the beginning of the season because I mean everyone was worried, how are they going to be as good, hopefully top season 1, because season 1 was just so incredible. We
hmm
we were introduced to this brand new Walking Dead universe. We had all these crazy characters like Lee and Clementine and Kenny and everybody and all the crazy crap that happened to them. So I will admit that episodes 1 through 2 of this season did not hook me as much as I had hoped they would. I mean, it was really interesting seeing Clementine. She's like what 2 or 3 years older now, and just how she's evolved as a person. But I felt like they leaned a little too heavily on her initially. Because I mean, she loses Omid and Krista. We don't know what's happened to Krista. I
hmm
mean, I hope she's not dead, but hey, it's
Yeah.
It's the Walking Dead universe for a reason. It's like one step below Game of Thrones.
hmm
And I mean, and just this new cast of characters that she met at the cabin in the woods. Great film. Uh, just really, at first it seemed like okay, we're just putting new faces into old archetypes. The sassy girl who's gonna cause a problem later. The father figure who's like really strict and everything and trying to like keep everybody calm and just shut up, I'm not gonna do anything different from the plan. I'm interested, Jake, what did you think of like the initial couple episodes of this season?
I first did not like the first episode because I felt it was so stagnant and just so it didn't go anywhere. You were in that cabin meeting these people who really at first felt like copies, lesser copies of that first group. But as that second episode came around, and I really enjoyed that second episode, I think more than you did, because it felt like it was moving at a very quick pace. You were on, the road, you were on a bridge, you were going places and meeting people, and it was going much faster. Where the first one felt more like a slog a little bit to get through. Because I mean, after you get bit by the dog, it's just really working your way to stitching yourself up, and then it's kind of over. And with this new one, I kind of felt like they kept that up a little bit. I'm happy that they're moving the story along a little bit quicker pace because I'm happy they didn't just stick with Carver being the villain. I mean, he's very quickly dealt with in a way that I was surprised with. I was surprised at how quickly he was dealt with.
Yeah,
I don't know if you were as well.
I admit I am surprised at how fast this season is moving because season 1, we had the initial Lee and Clementine are in the town, and then the second episode was like an offshoot where they like went to that dairy farm, but they came back to the exact same location at the
Mhm.
end. And then in episode 3, they were at the motel for a while before they were forced to leave. And I feel like I don't know. Part of me wants to like the speed that this season is moving at, uh, because there were problems with like how long we stayed at that freaking motel in season
Yeah.
1. But part of me is also like, okay, if so much is happening so fast, we we might fail to truly care about these characters when they go out. Like in episode 2 of this season, we meet the older guy who is living at the ski lodge, and with Kenny and Sarita and a couple other people or whatever, I think. And at the end of the episode, he's capped. He's straight up capped. And I mean, there's an artistic beauty to that of nobody's safe, even if we've only known them for 5 minutes. But
Hmm.
then it's also like, well, how do you expect me to really care? I was a little surprised that he died, but I wasn't like, oh, that guy. Like, I can't even remember his name at this point. That's how fast it felt. And I feel like I may have liked episode 1 better than 2 because they took their time. Like, to me, the two highlights of episode 1 were of course, the dog.
Hmm.
You think, okay, this where's this going? Is it really going to go as sugary sweet as now Clementine has a companion or something? And that actually could have worked really well if they went through with it. I'm not saying it doesn't work the way they did with it, but holy crap, like they really pulled a 1-2 on you of, enforcing that sense of absolute hopelessness. Clementine has a friend. She works a little bit to, overcome its fear and, hey, let's work together to survive or whatever. And that dog doesn't give a crap. So, and then the other moment I felt that was really, really good in episode 1 was just the sneaking through the cabin. Granted, it's a point and click adventure game, so it's not like an actual stealth game or anything. But I did feel a sense of tension and thinking, what the heck is going to happen here? Just you are in such a dangerous situation with so many adults that first scene where like they all meet Clementine outside the house, and it gives you the option of like, yelling at like any of the 6 or 7 of them, like, please don't do this or whatever, and you can yell at any of them. I'm like, wow, that's really throwing the absolute vast potential in our face. Is just, what's going to happen in this brand new environment. Episode 2, I felt, though, it felt like on an on rails kind of thing. Parts of it reminded me of episode 3 from season 1, where you're on the train and you stop at that little depot where you meet Omid and Krista.
Hmm.
Because like you accidentally kill the kid guarding the bridge, or Luke or whatever his name is accidentally kills that kid, and or someone does. I actually may not
I
have
think it
been
was
Luke.
Nick.
It was Nick, yeah, or as some people refer to him, Kenny Jr. um, I felt like that episode kind of moved too quickly. Granted, they had a few moments of like, character building, but it kind of felt a little forced because it's like all these adults who just met Clementine, they start off not trusting her whatsoever, and now 1 episode later, they're like telling her, hey, I like you. I hope we make it through this. Here's a deep, dark secret for you to confide in.
Hmm.
Uh, and I don't know. If they hadn't brought Kenny back in that, it might have been a really, really flat episode. But bringing Kenny back just opened up the door for dozens of other options. I won't ever forget having to choose between sitting with Luke, Nick, and the rest of the new gang and Kenny. I chose Kenny, but yeah. What do you think, though, as far as, let's talk about episode 3 specifically here, because I feel like this is where a lot of people are going to come together to think that the series is back 100% on track. What do you think?
I think it is, and just the way it seems to be heading right now, where they kind of throw you off with the ending of Carver and what, because I thought that was going to be a season long arc of, you know, here's this guy who obviously is pure evil, and the way this episode kind of structured, you hate him more and more and more to interact with him, and they really offer no kind of sympathy for Carver. But as he's quickly, done with at the end, and we're given that ending of, them walking out into the sea of undead to, I don't even know. There's no real plan
Just
after
get
that.
out, yeah.
I'm just excited to see how it's gonna go from there, because usually, I mean, throughout this episode, everyone's talking about making a plan and not having a plan, and all this stuff about plans, and then at the end, we're left kind of free roam. Like after this, I don't know.
Every
So,
good plan, is gonna fail. And that
mhm.
and that's like just been a mythos of the Walking Dead universe for so long. Is it doesn't matter how good of a plan you have, someone or something is gonna bone it. Uh, Yeah, I was really surprised what they did with Carver as well. Just killing him at the end of the episode like that, especially because they had such great talent in him. Michael Madsen voicing him.
Yeah.
It was like, wow. It took me like 5 seconds to realize it. But I'm like, wow, this is someone with chops, and who's really throwing a good amount of character into it. But I mean, I guess that's maybe we don't want it to have where Carver's, the imminent threat, because imminent threats are played out.
Hmm.
In a world like The Walking Dead, characters like Kenny or Clementine are capable of so many things that to think that this couldn't happen, like, that Carver's going to get offed at the very end of episode 5 in some grand fashion. No, he's jumped on by a little girl, capped in the knees, and then left helpless for the dead, or for Kenny in my case.
Did you choose the option to watch that?
I did, because I was like, heck yeah, I'm gonna savor this. Did you?
No, I did not. And I wondered afterwards if he actually did kill him or if he just maimed him. I wasn't too sure.
And I don't know if it'll change, because I'm sure like Kenny probably killed him either way. But yeah, in my ending, he takes a crowbar, and his face, it does not do it justice to say his face was caved in.
Mm.
His skull is like shattered in 30 different segments. It is bad. And I mean, Kenny isn't gonna look too pretty. That preview I'm sure you saw as well has
Ye-
Kenny asking, "Well, do I look pretty?"
This was a fairly brutal episode, I thought.
Yeah, it
Um,
really
Between
was.
the Kinney beating and then the death of I believe his
Reggie
name was Randy or
Reggie, I think.
Reggie. Yes,
Yeah,
I was so sad when he died.
that was another actor too who of some note. I'm gonna look that up real quick. But yeah, Reggie what?
I knew him as Presmo from Adventure Time. That I grasped his voice almost immediately, and he was a fun addition, I thought, because he was fairly lighthearted, but it served well. I think that Carver took him out the way he did. It still sucked, but yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
I helped out the what is her name, the little girl Sarah with her chores.
yeah, me
So
too, me too. Because I was like, well, I'd rather get Clementine in trouble than let Sarah like become, Let's talk about what the heck they're doing. They are actually doing a really good long game with Sarah, because in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, there's two ways this can go. Either Sarah is just so sheltered or so coddled, by her father, now dead too, God help us, uh, that she's just, socially introverted and has no idea how the world works. Or what I'm thinking is she's got some psychosis, because I mean, there's all these little ticks about Sarah
mhm.
that tell you, she's not quite all there. What do you think?
I've been getting a lot of the something psychologically up with her, and especially Kenny this episode, who seems to be fairly manic with his need to escape and escape now. And even at the start of the episode, when they're in the truck, he's so determined to, attempt an escape that puts everyone's life in danger. I feel like the inclusion of him, possibly suffering some kind of brain injury with that, they talk about it a
Yeah.
little bit, that it might lead to something down the road. But with Sarah, I'm starting to kind of see a parallel between Sarah and Clem and Lee and Clem, where Clementine is kind of taking over the role of Lee to Sarah, teaching her survival, how to live in this world. And I don't know if that's the end game they're going for, of those two kind of making that connection.
That is very true. I like that point. Because when Carver is talking to Clementine in the office, obviously that conversation could have gone a few ways. I told him, piss off, I'm not going to help you.
Same.
But yeah, but he made a very valid point. There's a reason a little girl like you is still alive and as capable as you are. It's because you're different from from all these peons down there who are just good at taking orders. You're good at surviving. You're good at leading. You're good at doing whatever it takes to actually get by, which is what Carver feels like he's doing too. You know, he may be killing people, but he's doing what he feels he has to. Uh,
Mm.
and that's gonna make a huge interesting dichotomy between, you know, what Lee in episode or season 1, he did what he had to, you know, and he may or may not have murdered people as well, depending on what you chose, but he wasn't squeaky clean at the end of it either. He did what he had to do, but he was doing it for an ultimately benevolent purpose. And maybe that's what like these parallels we're seeing between characters and storylines and arcs is all about. With Kenny too. Now that his face is bashed in, and obviously, I mean, it's gonna be scarred to heck for, you know, the remainder of his life. What little there will be left of it. Uh,
Mm.
I, in the same sense that Lee lost his entire arm, uh, you know, no one's getting out of this clean. And I was actually really, I was scared to heck when Clementine had to go up on that little rope winch, because I'm thinking like, okay, I through my decisions in the story, I didn't like fix it at all. And I was like, oh crap, I'm going to fall and Clementine's like going to break her leg and be permanently injured for the rest of the season. And that didn't happen. I'm like, whoa, okay. I expected more to like fall to my doom. But, you know, nobody gets out of this squeaky clean.
Yeah, and I noticed in this episode a lot. There's a lot of bodily mutilation between, you know, Kenny's eye. We have Reggie's arm, and then of course at the end we have Sarita's arm, which I don't know if you cut off or not.
I cut that girl's arm off real quick. I was like, you're boned either way. Let me at least try.
I did the same thing. So I don't know if that's setting something up with all this imagery of, you know, losing something important. Because I mean, obviously it parallels back to Lee losing his arm if players did that.
Yeah.
Which was one of the big choices at the end. So I don't know if that's setting something up. But I was thinking back to episode 1 for a second, that the one thing I do wish they would have continued on with episode 1 is those choices that kind of highlight the fact that you are a small child. In episode 1, you could manipulate people and you could say things. And I remember a choice that was exactly like puppy dog eyes or something along that lines, where you just look at someone sad and you use that childlike, you know, essence of you to get things. Those last 2 episodes really haven't had too much of that, I don't think. And I found that to be really unique in the first one. Because like when you said she might fall and break her leg, I wish there was more kind of that tension.
Yeah, like one of the great lines in episode 1 was, you know, still not bitten, because she's finally proven to them that, you know, she may be a little girl, but she's incredibly capable, and and a danger to them if she isn't let out to safety. Yeah, that is a very good point. There hasn't really been a lot of the making the huge point that Clementine is a little girl. I think maybe more of it is just in the conversational kind of aspect of it. You know, if Clementine says something, you know, an adult is more quick to either dismiss it or disregard, or, you know, just like be very cautious about her suggestions. But she also, in the same sense, she's done enough now to show these people like, look, I'm not kidding around. I can take care of myself. 2, I've proven that, you know, often enough I have better ideas than any of you guys. Yeah, but there really wasn't anything where like she was like, you know, one walk. She tears down a couple of walkers in the, you know, in the previous couple episodes, whereas the one in the shed, like, really, like, it was in its entire own QuickTime sequence. What did you think of the newer characters in this episode? I'm, along with the sense that there's this faster pace to the past couple episodes. I don't know. I really dig the short-haired girl, not just because she has short hair, which is my kryptonite, but because she could go either way. She could be like the girl in episodes 4 and I think 5 of season 1 who had like the hook and the orange jumpsuit and everything. But she could also be a cold-blooded killer because I'm assuming it happens in either ending. You know, she straight up blows that guy's balls off.
I, uh, well, since I don't know if you played 400 Days, the
Yes.
prequel, I was happy to see a bunch of those characters come back.
If
Although
only briefly.
although I was
Really.
kind of off put by what was his name? Like Vince, like he was in one scene, so I don't know if he's dead or not. But I was happy to see those characters somewhat come back because I liked a lot of those characters from that game, and I was wondering, at what point were they going to come into play? I enjoy Bonnie quite a bit. I feel like she's an interesting character. What's the I think the short haired girl's name is Jane. She also I like that what she brought to with the whole coding yourself in the zombie thing because that's something I think is useful for them to know. And Mike, I really didn't get to know him too much. The black guy in the back,
Yeah.
but he seems like he could be someone pretty interesting.
I think Telltale has a pretty good knack for introducing characters who may seem pretty archetypical or one type really, but delving into them further when they have a chance. Like Omid and Krista in season 1. Omid was a smart pants, and Krista was just his equally smart aleck girlfriend who kept him in check and everything. And you're like, okay, let's see where this goes, I guess. But in the next 2 episodes, you really did get a sense for who they both were. And when Omid's shot at the beginning of this season, you're like, no. So that means you care. What was the black character's name? Mike.
Yeah,
Mike. He looks like he could either serve as cannon fodder or become something interesting. Like, he doesn't seem half as crazy as anybody, but he does. I mean, his first opening line is like, "Hey, shut up over there." So he's not afraid to, get a little into it. Jane, I think, will be a pretty good. I mean, even in the trailer for the next episode, Jane says, something along the lines of, "What are you going to do when it comes down to them or you? Your friends or your survival." Or something like that, which means, Jane has obviously a history of doing whatever it takes to survive on her own. But yeah, I'm now back on track with this season. Granted, it still had some problems, moving back and forth with just how fast everything's going, how quickly they're offing characters. You know what I want to see? I want to see what the heck the when you're scrolling through the episodes list and they have that like little one image that's a little teaser for it. I physically need to know what the heck Clementine is doing, smearing like blood on her face like a tribal tattoo or something.
Yeah. That was for the next one, right?
Yes.
Because I remember the final one is that shot of the city in winter, and that's the thing that's been keeping me going. Is I want to know what that is.
That will be really interesting. We haven't seen. Yeah, this entire series has taken place through like summers and falls. So winter, when we always think Walking Dead, freeze up in winter and it's a little safer, but not necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it's like early winter, maybe, where it hasn't taken much of a hold yet. But yeah, all right. Anything else, Jake?
Did you keep Alvin alive for this episode?
Wait, Alvin can stay alive in this episode?
Yes, the
because
guy who's like married to Rebecca or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, Alvin in my game anyway sacrificed himself. Does he not do that in yours?
Oh yeah, he's dead. I mean, I thought you meant kept him alive for this episode.
Oh yeah.
That was probably my favorite moment for this episode.
He what does he do in episode 2 of the season? Because it's
he
when
he could possibly get shot by Carver.
Right. Does the old guy still get shot?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it sucks. Oh man, that's okay. Yeah, I loved. Alvin was another character just where where you didn't know where he was going particularly, and there's not too much to him, much like the rest of the cast, but his final moments, you're like, okay, this means something. This is pretty big. I liked seeing him go out with a little bit of vengeance, a little bit of strength left in his story.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we'll call it there. We got about 25 minutes in on that little spoiler discussion. Comments, feel free to comment, folks, if you have any thoughts about this season of Walking Dead from Telltale Games. Look for our written reviews here. They will either be up the same day as this, or if not sooner. And we also have a thank you video up on the site by the time of this coming out for just a couple of us thanking the folks who have been paying attention to us for supporting us all along the way and getting us approved as an official organization. So, yep. All right. You can check us out at bytebsu.blogspot.com. We are working on our own website with the help of some grad students, so keep a lookout for that at the beginning of next semester. And you can find us on Twitter and Facebook at the URL /ByteBSU. We will be posting plenty of content over the summer, and of course, E3 is right around the corner. We will be keeping up with that post haste. Jake, say goodbye.
All right, have a nice day, and see you soon.
Bye.